welcome to SveNFL.
What's up, y'all?
It's Jonathan Rollins.
And Schif Musara.
Two Americans living in Sweden talking about
playoffs. Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me?
We'll talk about the playoffs. Both of us are
Have you seen
with
they
our
have
teams.
Have you seen they have him in a commercial with Kevin Hart, a betting commercial?
Yeah.
Where he's doing that. I thought that was pretty
good.
funny.
That is good.
I was wondering
speaking of
if there were
commercials,
any. I was wondering if there were any, like, some of the younger fans probably don't understand that commercial at all. Certainly not the Taylor Swift fans who are suddenly watching the games. They don't. They're like, "Who's that old guy talking to Kevin Hart?"
Yeah, her fans are the reason that they kept that game in minus 30 and all that shit. So Miami could lose. Fucking cheaters.
Crazy.
I was bummed, man. This is you know me, I'm a pretty happy-go-lucky guy. And then the only thing that could get me down really is my team losing. But this podcast, I think it's helped me with that because I have to look at all the other games. I have to look at things. I try my best. I don't have to, but I try my best to look at things objectively. So it kind of like heals me through making me look at other football shit. So thanks, Schif.
Right. Well, I'm sure also being friends with a Falcons fan now has helped you understand how to cope with being.
Every now and then I call you in the middle of the night.
Loser.
Hey, man, can you tell me about 28-3?
Yeah.
Tell that story again.
Tell me about how you got over that. Right, because I'm totally over it. It doesn't scar me at all. It's not
Can you remind me things can be worse? It ultimately saved me from the heartbreak of a Super Bowl loss that I predicted. But I kind of wanted to be right. I felt good about the Dolphins, and I was like, I want to be right about them making it to the Super Bowl and losing to the 49ers as my whole prediction because I did predict last Super Bowl. I was like, I could do this. But obviously, it was falling apart for the last 5 weeks, so I should have known better.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this was this is such a fascinating weekend of football. The matchups, the weather played a role.
I got everything wrong, pretty much. Not on the in our flip and pick 'em, but in the bracket, I just was like so wrong about everything I thought was going to happen this weekend. Pretty much.
That's true. Actually, let's see. Hold on.
I only made one bracket too.
You got everything wrong. Like you did not. I mean, you got some things, but you got things that I got wrong. You didn't make any correct picks this week in flipping.
Not on here, but in my bracket, it's pretty much the same. My bracket, the only thing I got.
I haven't even looked at that.
I don't even want to look at the bracket, but I have it up. But I was just like, I think in the bracket, I switched it last minute. I was like, you know what, Browns defense, they can pull this off. You know what I mean? And Joe Flacco's been there before. I was just like, I talked myself out of it in the bracket. But thankfully, that's the only thing I picked right in the flip and pick 'em.
Yeah, let's get into it. First game was Browns versus Texans. Texans just
shocked the world.
Stomped a mud hole in the Browns.
Best defense in the league. Got 45 hung on them.
You know, both defenses looked ready early in the game. It was kind of tight, back and forth affair before the offenses really got cooking. That being said, the Texans did look like the better team from the jump, in my opinion.
Agreed.
They went into the half with a 10-point lead. They get the ball out of the half. And then when they failed to score and double up on the Browns, I kind of thought, oh, shit, this is when they blew it. However, that's when Joe Flacco started throwing interceptions, back-to-back pick sixes.
I got this, guys.
I mean, that was crazy.
Yeah. It was over pretty quickly after that. It was just like, damn, this like they kept scoring. It kept getting worse and worse.
It just, I mean, to watch it unravel that quickly.
Yeah. It's what you thought would happen to Houston. as a young team, the whole inexperienced thing,
Yeah.
and then it just fell apart, man.
Stroud was amazing. He was 16
For
for
21.
21. He had 274 yards, 3 touchdown passes. Most of them were deep shots too, right? He averaged like 13 yards per play.
Yeah.
D'Amico Ryans had his boys ready to play. Nico Collins, Jesus Christ, this guy.
Yeah.
Singletary,
and they didn't
too.
need to do all of that, especially with the 2 pick sixes. It was just like icing on the cake. It was just, man, they looked good, man.
And the defense was great. I mean, they had 4 sacks, 7 QB hits. They had 11 tackles for a loss in this game, the Texans.
They were swarming.
Yeah. I mean, Flacco lit them up a few weeks ago, but you could tell the Texans had gone back and watched that tape over and over again. They just weren't going to let that shit happen again. I really enjoyed. I like watching Red Zone with my family, but I also really like being able to watch like just a game, especially in this situation in the playoffs, because it's like I really enjoyed the way they did the replay coverage on the Texans defense and the way they showed how the Texans had learned from their mistakes in the earlier game and how they were using the safety to sort of make sure that they didn't get burned over the top by Amari Cooper again. Because the last time they played, Amari Cooper had like 10,000 yards receiving or some shit. It was like crazy. A lot has been made of the Flacco resurgence, but it frequently was overlooked that in the 6 games that this guy played this year, I mean, he threw 8 picks. Usually, even the people who recognize it, they dismiss it because they just assumed, well, Flacco can throw picks as long as the Browns D keeps playing the way they're playing. But they were not ready to get punched in the mouth like this. And like I said, even without those pick sixes, I would say the Texans were going to win this game anyway.
Yeah, the pick six is at 14 points, but
it does for sure. But I would argue that you take those pick sixes out of the game, Texans still win this game. They were the better team. They played better.
They lost by 31 points.
Yeah. I just think I was super impressed. CJ Stroud is everything. I'm not whatever, call it a flex, but he's everything that I predicted he would be. He was the best quarterback out of this year's draft for sure.
Yeah. Did you see the post-game speech by D'Amico Ryans?
No, I didn't. What did he say?
Yeah, my favorite thing from it was we get to play one more week. It's just like almost like this is it's fun, guys. Yo, we get to play one more week. Good job. Let's go. Let's see. Maybe more than that. He was just talking like that. I loved it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I can't say enough about him as a coach and what he's been able to get these guys to do. It's just, yeah, it's impressive.
I like that they paid their fleecing forward. Because they got fleeced by the Dolphins with that Tunsil trade. And they basically paid it forward by flipping. And that was against the Browns, too. They did that to the Browns because they flipped Deshaun Watson and they basically built their team off of that trade.
Yeah, that's true.
And got the coach in and all that. So they paid it forward. And now Cleveland got lifted to the playoffs by a backup. And then and now the guy that they got flipped for is saddling the team with a crazy salary.
Yeah, now I'm reading that they're going to be in some real trouble next year regarding the salary cap and are going to have to make some really big decisions. Like there's even people who are already predicting that they may not be able to afford to keep my man, former Bulldog Nick Chubb.
And Njoku, he came out this year too, like as
that's true.
A star. You know what I mean? Like they're gonna have to pay him, or somebody's gonna pay him. Especially tight ends are starting to fall away. like star tight ends. They're not as many as they used to be 10 years ago. So
I mean,
if you get,
can you imagine the pressure on Deshaun Watson next year is going to be huge. Huge.
and as somebody who really likes to relax too.
He's going to need a massage.
He's like, I told y'all. So yeah, maybe don't do that type of massage.
Yeah. Should
And then there's the Steelers Bills. No, I watched the game. I watched the. Well, there should have been a Steelers Bills game the next day, but they postponed that, because the weather was fucked up.
Correct.
But I guess they decided having 53 men in was it negative 27 Fahrenheit with the wind chill, but -7 Fahrenheit.
What did they say? Didn't they say it was the fourth coldest game in NFL history? I think fourth coldest game.
Yeah. So then they and I'm not blaming the weather for that game. I'm just saying that my team did not look like they wanted to be out there. So they look like they didn't want contact. It's
true.
They didn't want to hit the whole cold bodies. It seemed like I was looking at the defense like they don't want to tackle that man.
I saw some replays where it looked like the Dolphins defenders were playing two-hand touch.
Yeah.
It was like, oof.
Yeah.
That did not look good.
They were holding the Chiefs to field goals at first, and then, basically, I mean, it felt like at the end of the first half, it was like, okay, we get the ball back. We can still come back in this game. They just refused to score on offense. The Chiefs' defense is really good. Miami was out there. It seemed like they were happy to be there and ready to get out of there. And it was just an uninspiring performance by my team. And it sucks to go out like that.
I feel like regardless of the weather conditions, to me, the most unfortunate thing for the Dolphins was they went into this game basically missing half of their starting lineup on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, that's like, I think. And
still, we're holding them. They were holding the field goal still.
I just felt really bad for them that at this time of year, like that's they've been the team that's been the big concern about the Dolphins coming into this year was making sure that Tua stayed healthy, right? Mm-hmm. And he did that. It's just a shame that in the end, it's like the Dolphins kind of had to fight with one hand tied behind their back.
Yeah, in the cold.
That's not to take anything away from the Chiefs. I mean, the Chiefs have struggled. The Chiefs
Andy Reid had a mushtickle.
Holy shit! I can relate to that actually.
Oh yeah, I bet.
I've been there. I can tell you, like, especially when I would go out and make the ice in Aspuda, the ice rink. You go out there and your whole. I mean, I've come home some nights and my whole beard is just like a block of ice. It's crazy. So it's I found it really fascinating that the Chiefs, for as much as we've talked about their offensive struggles, first of all, their defense has been the thing that's been carrying them all year. So I don't think anyone's surprised by that.
Yeah.
The offensive struggles, the ups and downs, the not being able to perform in the way that we normally think of the Chiefs, it's starting to look like Andy Reid has figured this thing out to a certain extent, right?
Yeah, to me, I wasn't that impressed with their offense.
No, but I just mean that, like, he's starting to. I think he's started to figure out the whole addition by subtraction, right? Mm-hmm. Let's take the problem players and we sit them, and let's stop pretending like we've got all these guys. Let's just run the whole thing through Pacheco, Rashee Rice, Travis Kelce, and we'll throw in a few of the other tight ends, if we need to. But let's just focus on what works.
Yeah,
and sit.
And they're a fun team to root for too. Like I like the Chiefs. I had a mentor in my old job that was a Chiefs fan, and they sucked for a long time. So for her, I used to kind of root for the Chiefs, like, oh, y'all got it this week, you know what I mean? And then, so I always think about her when I think about the Chiefs, and I'm like happy for the Chiefs. So I hope they can make a run out of it. It'd be cool if they can get another Super Bowl. I'd love it if they're like a full-on dynasty, but to do it with this roster would be impressive too, because they faced some adversity this year.
I didn't really. I only saw the short highlights of this game. One of the questions I had was, do you think your coach deserves some criticism for the game plan? And it seems like they kind of bailed on the run.
It didn't feel like it in the moment. I didn't feel like they were, but it felt like the Chiefs were just a step ahead. It was like they were squeezing them. But yeah, they didn't run. I got it as it was happening. They come out, they're down 16-7 at the half. The run's not really doing that well. They seem to be trying to play a balanced game. I don't know. I didn't feel like it as I watched. I wasn't frustrated like that. I was more frustrated that they weren't putting points up. They seemed like they weren't that inspired. You know what I mean? It'll be some dumb thing will happen, like a holding, and the drive's over. Or like they did some behind. I didn't like some of the screens they were doing to try to set stuff up to like just get the ball in Tyreek Hill's hands type of thing. No, I didn't feel like.
Yeah, I just heard. I heard some. Most of the coverage I heard after this game was over was that it felt like the Dolphins' game plan was not really taking the weather into account necessarily.
Oh,
like that they were still just
the Chiefs were throwing the ball too. Like Tua threw the ball 20. No, he threw it 39 times. They ran the ball. Was it 20 something times? 18 times. I guess they could have thrown. They could have. And Mahomes threw it 41 times. But they ran it way more. They were gouging us, though, felt like.
Yeah. I think Pacheco is born to play in this weather for those angry legs.
Yeah, man. He seemed like, but at first it seemed like it was okay. It was all right. All right, we're stuffing it a bit, and it just slowly, just more and more. But it was their short passes and run after the catch that was the thing that was just like extending drives, and it was Next thing you know, you're down. Like in the second half, you're down. Once they score in the second half, and it's no longer. And once it's a 3-score game, what we're gonna do? Keep running? Right. It's like I didn't feel like it was unbalanced like that at all. I just felt like we were outmatched. There's still no way. I mean, the thing to say to them is like, how do you come out of here with such a good offense and only have, because the injuries are on defense? Why do we only have 7 points in this game?
Right.
I saw one time Mostert came up limping. I was like, here we go, man. It seems like that was the story all year. And I heard there's some salary cap issues too. They got to pay to it now because they didn't do it last year. Last year would have been the time to sell him low, but he led the league in passing. So now he's gonna, and it seems like his agent ain't about that. And it don't seem like that guy is gonna be like, oh, let's do a team friendly thing.
I heard Dolphins Twitter wants to get rid of Tua.
Yeah, they're the best. It would be great if they could run the team. Be great. You ever seen a quarterback? Not even just Dolphins Twitter. They're stupid. We know that. But you ever seen a quarterback lead the league? I was trying to think of a quarterback that led the league in passing, and it's like there's still question marks about him. Is this a good quarterback? Is he a top 10? Is he a starting quarterback in the NFL? Have you ever heard that from any quarterback that's been, just think back in history, has there been a fluke passing leader in the NFL?
Yeah, no. I mean, I personally don't think Tua was the real issue this year at all.
Of course not. It's weird that you got to say it. It's weird that you have to say that.
I think he did. I think he answered all of the offseason questions that existed in between last season and this season. He came in, he balled out, he stayed healthy. I mean, that was the whole offseason narrative.
Yep.
Oh, if Tua can stay healthy, if Tua can stay healthy. And it's like, well, he stayed healthy and he played
led
great.
the league in passing. Like,
Yeah,
okay,
so
he's good now. Can we say it? It's like, what?
And for me, Tua is not the reason they lost this game. I think, in all honesty, the reason why they lost this game is because of injuries to the defense. I think they would have had a better chance to win this game.
Yeah.
Had they had
any pressure whatsoever on Mahomes.
If they still had X, if they still had Chubb, if they still had
Phillips.
I mean, there's some
Baker.
like who else? There's more.
There's the what's the safety? Damn, I can't think of his name now. One of the best safeties in NFL.
Yeah, I mean, you had at least 6 starting defensive players who did not play in this game due to injury. I think those guys are on the field. We're having a different conversation about this game. Maybe the Chiefs still win, but I think it'd be a lot closer.
Yeah.
I just think, yeah. Anybody who's calling for Tua to get shit canned out of Miami is a fucking idiot, in my opinion.
Oh, they're talking about Mike McDaniel too.
Stop.
Or just those fans. I mean, they're stupid, man.
Stop.
I just like shake my head and like, what are we talking about, man? They don't deserve anything.
Should we do the games in the order that they happened?
Let's go through flip and pick them. I feel like that's the easiest way.
Well, then the next one would be
Steelers.
obviously
Bills.
would be Steelers Bills. So
Yes, a calmer weather day. They've played on Monday night, and
this was crazy. Okay, so with what was it? They had this lake snow effect, right? We've talked about this on the podcast before, where it's like dumping a lake's worth of snow on a city, 30 mile an hour winds, and the Buffalo Bills put out a call to the fans. They needed volunteers to come and like shovel through the night, which was crazy. And they basically offered $20 an hour to anybody who could come and help shovel the snow.
That's cool.
Out of the stadium, to which you had to. I immediately asked Isak. I said, if your team asked you to come and do that, would you do it? He was like, "Oh, 100%. I'm there."
I wouldn't take money.
Yeah, exactly. He said that too. He was like, "I'd do it for free."
Yeah. You catch a nigga off guard with this shit.
In the end, the NFL decided to postpone this game. It was just too dangerous in so many different ways, especially when it comes to like traveling to the stadium and whatnot. I remember seeing.
Do they need to travel to the stadium? Like, we just had a playoffs during COVID. We know that it's possible to have a game where fans aren't there.
True, but I know.
I don't know if you towards the Bills because I hate them.
I don't know if you know this, but COVID doesn't exist anymore. Nobody cares. It's over.
I'm saying that they put on games without fans. If you're so worried about the fans, then say, hey, we're going to play this game, and you watch it from home.
Yeah, but you're talking about an organization that also put the Chiefs-Dolphins game on Peacock, which they don't give a fuck about the fans.
Yeah, you're right.
They don't care about the fans. Right. And to be honest with you, I think this game happens as scheduled. Had it not been for the mayor of Buffalo calling the NFL and saying, the governor calls and says, hey, not so fast. This game happens as scheduled if they don't get that phone call. I guarantee you.
Yeah, how about if the governor didn't get a phone call from Buffalo?
Yeah, exactly. So I really do think that. I think the NFL was prepared to play this game regardless of the conditions had they not gotten that phone call. So that's... Yeah. I fully believe that.
My question is, if it was a dome, right, and that all that shit's going on outside, it's all fucked up, do they cancel the game?
No.
Because it's unsafe for the fans to get there?
Nope. No. 100% no.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
But that's besides the point, man. The game, I watched the game. I felt like it was over after when Mason Rudolph throws that interception in the end zone. I was like, well, that's it. They fought hard. Buffalo was in it. Josh Allen stayed out of his own way. It was a good game plan, I thought. They're running the ball well.
That is so. I'm sorry. I have to call you out on this. You are such a Josh Allen hater.
I hate this guy. I hate that he flops too. They talk about how big and physical he is. He runs people over and then he gets in the pocket and falls on the ground.
This is crazy. Okay, fine. I'll give you that. But to say that the Bills won this game because Josh Allen stayed out of his own way.
It's true. That was the only way the Steelers could win.
It does not represent how well this man played in this game.
He played well.
Josh Allen
played well.
Was awesome. Okay.
He was decent.
The guy throws 2 quick touchdown passes, 2 touchdowns in 3 minutes of game time, in large part because my man, former Bulldog George Pickens, fumbled the ball.
Oh man, that was another one. And they got given a fumble that should have been a fumble too. What's his name? Fryermuth.
That's true.
Fumbles the ball on the sidelines, and then somehow in Buffalo they didn't get that call because that game should have been over way back because Pickens fumbled and he fumbled.
Yeah.
Then the pick, it was just like woof.
On the flip side, my other man, former Bulldog James Cook, that dude was juking and jiving. He was doing some nice little cuts early in the game, looking good, fucking putting dudes on skates. I was loving that.
Oh, did you see the best dudes on skates moment of this game?
Which one are you talking about?
Khalil Shakir.
Oh yeah.
And then like my friend,
it was hilarious.
I watched this because I was like preparing to do another podcast, and so I was in the studio, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot I need to watch this game. You know, oh no, I was watching some highlights of another thing, and this came up, and I was like, yo, I know you don't like football, but you need to watch this man's ankles get taken right here. And I played it for him, and he was just like, dude, it looked like a basketball crossover, how he shook the shit out of this guy.
And that touchdown that he scored, too, it was funny. I was watching Good Morning Football yesterday, and they paused the moment where Khalil Shakir, the guy goes in for the tackle, and he looks, his ass is only like 3 inches from hitting the ground, and his hands on it. And it's like they paused it and said, if you told me that was going to turn into a touchdown, I'd tell you you're crazy.
Yeah.
The way he was able to get up and keep that run going was amazing.
And there was one in the Bucs game too, but we'll get to that too. But they got outclassed. It was like the Steelers were outclassed. You could tell that they need a quarterback badly in this game in order to keep up with Buffalo. Their defense was humming. Josh Allen played okay. And they just were, he played an amazing game. I was giving him his flowers on the group chat, so I don't feel like I should do it on here too. Okay? I want to publicly hate him and privately give him his props.
But I don't participate in the
amazing.
Group chat.
You're right.
I don't participate in the group chat. The guy had
I did recognize that he was amazing, that he was running when it was time to run. He wasn't forcing anything. And hitting those tight ends for those the first 2 touchdowns.
52-yard touchdown run, not a big deal. It's only the second longest touchdown run in the playoffs by a quarterback.
Yeah, man. Pittsburgh was out there tackling like the Dolphins.
Dude.
Like, is it -7 there? Does it hurt?
Facts. Yeah. Absolutely. There was some bad. We'll get to the Cowboys in a minute, but they had some. They didn't even have any excuses. Like.
Yeah, they didn't have excuses.
With the weather, they didn't have weather to deal with. But shout out to the Bills D too, who really just kind of eliminated Najee Harris and Jalen Warren. Statistically,
Mason Rudolph looked okay too, by the way.
Yeah, and it's funny because when you look at the stats, these teams were not that far apart. but the Steelers' inability to create big plays.
That interception in the red zone, it changed everything, man.
And that was huge. That whole sequence was huge because I don't remember his name, but the DB who got that
had already got a
pick,
pass interference. Yeah,
and he had also given up a big play on that same drive.
Elam, I think his name.
Yeah, he had given up another big play on that same drive, and he got the pass interference call. They kept the drive alive, and everybody, the announcers were trashing it, like, oh, you can't do that. Like, oh, you just fucking blow it for your team. And then, boom, he gets the pick. It was like,
yep.
Nice. Redemption.
Yeah.
Instant redemption. Who are we kidding? I mean, the better team won.
Yeah.
We always knew the Bills were going to win this game.
Yeah.
The Steelers, I guess you could argue that both of these teams kind of snuck into the playoffs.
Yeah.
And both teams played their final regular season games were essentially felt more like playoff games because they didn't, it was basically like there's no more rope. You know what I mean? There was no margin for error. If you lose, you're not going to make the playoffs. So both of these teams kind of sneak in, but I think we always knew the Bills were the better team. They both of these teams fired their offensive coordinators in the middle of the season. And the Bills.
Oh yeah.
The Bills. I think the Bills came out on top on that one. I mean, they.
Mm-hmm.
I never expected Mason Root. I mean, I don't even know what to say about the Pittsburgh Steelers, especially related to their quarterback situation.
Cousins. You gotta get Kirk up in there.
Yeah, I don't. For me, Kenny Pickett is not. He ain't it. As much as they tried to, I thought the broadcast was funny. They're always so optimistic when the game starts, and they start talking about. I remember it was on the first Steelers drive of the game. They started talking about Mason Rudolph in this, like they even brought up Geno Smith. Here you have a guy who's the third string quarterback, but he's out here playing and he's playing great. And I mean, think about a guy like Geno Smith. I mean, Mason Rudolph could change the whole course of his career if he plays well tonight.
Nah, that ain't it, y'all.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, Mason Rudolph is not. This is not a Geno Smith.
We have our white Geno already, okay?
We do.
There's not room for another.
We actually do, and that's going to be fun to talk about. Yeah. But let's move on to the next game.
Woo, the shock. I mean, it's the second biggest shock of the weekend, I thought.
Right. Packers.
It's the second one. Yeah, I didn't.
Packers laid one on the Cowboys. Yeah. What is it? 48-32.
Yeah.
And honestly, if you haven't seen this game, like don't get it twisted. This was way more of a blowout than the final score seems. I mean, the Cowboys did score. I mean, Jordan Love was basically didn't they sit him on the?
Yeah,
he was on the sidelines, and then they had to put him back in because the Cowboys scored 16 points in the fourth quarter, garbage time for the most part. This was as perfect as a first half as you could ask for.
Yeah,
playing on the road against a team that has or had a 16-game home win streak, the Cowboys, a streak where the Cowboys are usually the ones scoring 48 points. Am I right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're the ones usually putting it on a team in Dallas. Jordan Love was fantastic in this game.
Yeah. I like it. I mean, sometimes he throws a sidearm. This was the stuff coming out of college they were talking about with him, that he can improvise and all that, but they didn't know if he could like fit into a system. And they've done a good job putting a system around him. And it feels like that's what LaFleur been ready to do this for a while. But Aaron Aaron just wouldn't get out of the way.
Aaron,
where are you?
Not to get too tape head on you guys, but and this is what I like about watching these games like this. It looked to me like, or they even talked about it, the Cowboys played a lot of zone coverage in the beginning of the game, almost like they were daring Jordan Love to throw the ball.
Yeah.
Right? Like they were expecting him to like sail a pass, throw a pick. But that did not happen. This man went 16 for 21, 272 yards, and 3 touchdowns. That tells me that the Cowboys probably should have been a little more worried about this guy.
I think if you play, this is a catch-22 because you play man, then he might sneak out of the pocket.
Yeah, but I also think for as good as
they do got good defense, man. Yeah.
For as well as their receivers have been playing in the last several weeks of the season, they're small.
Yeah,
they're all small.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
you would think you would benefit from playing them.
Yep, like
tight,
bumping them,
physical, bumping, all that kind of stuff. Dak, on the other hand, obviously because he's desperate to catch up in this game because they were behind quick. I mean, he goes 41 for 60. This man threw 60 passes in this game, 403 yards, 3 touchdowns, which, normally that stat line would spell a victory. Mm-hmm. Also, you got both CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup, both of them over 100 receiving yards. But really, this game was over at the half. I mean, and
it was most crazy how fast it felt like it's a wrap.
Yeah, most of those yards came in the second half because the whole Dak to CeeDee Lamb thing was just not working in the first half at all. Yeah. Dak throws 2 interceptions, right? Yep. That puts him in a hole early.
I thought you were going to say puts him over 10.
Yeah, it did put him over 10, didn't it?
It was 11. He made 11.
Yeah. But
and then they were running, and the Packers running the ball well.
They were. Aaron Jones looked good. He had a couple.
Hey, Ron, where are?
I just had to do that.
And again, it just looked like I don't know what was going. Like the Cowboys did such a bad job at tackling these receivers.
Yes,
terrible.
I feel like a lot of teams just forgot how to tackle when they got to playoffs. Yeah, I was shocked by this one.
Obviously, the big conversation out of this game is what's going to happen with Mike McCarthy.
Man, those they did more cutaways to Jerry Jones than they do for Taylor Swift, man.
That's true, they did.
They were showing him every time, just sitting there, just biting his fist and like throwing water on fans.
I am of the opinion. I don't think we've ever seen this many coaches get fired or also, like I said last week, this level of quality of coaches. Mm-hmm. I don't think we've seen this many good coaches be unemployed at the end of the year. Throw that on top of the fact that Mike McCarthy has kind of fallen on his face again in the playoffs for the Cowboys. I personally put his chances at keeping this job at 0.
Damn.
I really do. I don't.
Why is he not fired yet? You got to get ahead of these coaches. Like, no, you got to try to get your interview with Jim Harbaugh before he gets snatched away, or try to get your interview with Bill Belichick. You know what I mean? All these coaches out there. Brandon Staley.
I'm a little surprised we haven't heard anything yet, but I really, really, I'm going to be shocked if Mike McCarthy still has his job by the end of the week.
Did you hear about the Raiders players are talking about not playing if Antonio Pierce doesn't come back?
Max Crosby? I did. Yeah, Max Crosby said I might have to see if I can play somewhere else. Interesting.
Damn.
Mm-hmm.
Then we had Detroit squeaked it out over the Rams in the best game of the weekend. This was fun.
This is great.
But it was all in the first half. So.
Lions pull off their first playoff win since January 5th, 1992.
Making the biggest playoff drought is now what team? A winning drought?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know.
Miami Dolphins.
Is it the Dolphins?
Yep. Now we got the biggest playoff win drought.
Damn, that's sad. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, I think it'll be over next year, man. Feels like we're still ahead of schedule. Next year's the 3rd year with this coach.
1992. How old were you in 1992?
10 years old. I turned 10 that year.
I think I was 19.
Oh, nice. In 92, I bet the music was crazy in the club.
Wow, that's crazy. I think I was 19. I was 19. I was working at Hooters, frying chicken wings.
Damn. The living the life, you mean. You peaked.
Making out with, that was a good year. I hooked up with a lot of Hooters girls that year and friends of Hooter girls. I never had so much access to hot women in my life. They were just, they were everywhere I looked. That was a good year.
Glad you could think about that, man. Thank you, Detroit Lions.
Exactly.
If it weren't for the Detroit drought, we wouldn't have gotten to hear Schif go down memory lane like that.
Yeah, I just trailed off in my head to a wonderful place.
I've never seen your boner on camera before. I thought it was a microphone for a second, and I was like, wait a minute.
It's like, hold on, what is that? Let me push that down.
Yo, one quick thing. Have you seen those Kermit the Frog chats?
No.
There's these videos where there's somebody who comes in, he does a Kermit the Frog impersonation, talking to a girl. Hey, how you doing? Hey, so how old are you? And they're like talking to the girl, and all of a sudden, a cucumber comes into the bottom of the screen. It's fantastic.
That's funny. I gotta see that. My man, former Bulldog Matthew Stafford, did everything he could in this game. He played really well. He went 25 for 36, 367 yards, a couple of touchdown passes. But the Lions D really managed to contain Kieran Williams and the run game, which was obviously a big concern for them coming into the game. For the most part, it was an exercise in can we bend without breaking?
Yeah.
Or as Dan Campbell would put it, it was more like they were treading water until the moment presented itself so that they could drown them. I
think if Dan Campbell, or as I like to now call him, Dan Gamble, he had some fourth downs in there. He went for it. And I think if Sean McVay took that same approach, they might win this game. You know what I mean? Because they kicked a lot of field goals and they gave, left some possible points out there. And I feel like Dan Campbell wouldn't have done that in that position, but he also might not have gotten it. I thought he was going to shoot himself in the foot when it goes for a 4th and goal, and then they got a touchdown.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great point because, the Lions D kind of eliminated Cooper Kupp. He only had 5 catches for 27 yards. Puka Nacua went off, obviously. Mm-hmm. But I think it's one of those things where you got to pick your poison. You can't stop both. And that's kind of what they did. And the Lions D was excellent in the red zone, as you suggested, forcing them to kick field goals instead of touchdowns, but also kind of, putting McVay in a position where he has to make that choice. Am I gonna go for it? Am I gonna not? And it turns out that the more conservative coach on the night comes up with the L. Yeah. To me, that was the biggest difference in the game. Yeah. Plus the 3 straight touchdown drives to open the game for the Lions. Yeah. I mean, talk about being ready. I mean, Amon-Ra St. Brown was awesome. Josh Reynolds was great too. Montgomery and Gibbs did their thing. They played their part. Laporta, who we weren't even sure was going to play in this game, winds up catching a touchdown a pass on a 4th down play. So, I mean, just a great moment. To me, the image that I take away from this game, I mean, you have to say, this was such a redemption game. We joke about revenge narratives all the time. Yeah. What a great moment for Jared Goff. Yeah, especially that moment where they have the ball, it's late, it's under the 2-minute warning. They get that first down that allows them to go into victory formation. And that first knee that Goff takes a snap, he takes a knee, he turns around, lifts his arms to the sky, to the Detroit fans, and the building just erupted. I mean, for a fan base that has waited as long as they've waited to see a playoff victory. I mean, I think they even had some old dude in the stands who's been a season ticket holder for like 50 years or some shit. It was like,
I didn't know about it.
And they kept cutting to this old gray haired guy with his with his Lions Letterman jacket and all that stuff. And they were grown men crying in the stands
I'd have been crying
as he took the knee. I mean, I just thought it was such a beautiful moment for the Lions and their fans.
I'm glad for
I can't say enough about Dan Campbell. I love this guy.
He said he'd bring it for him. He's bringing it. The Rams fans shouldn't hang their heads, man. This is they had some contracts that they had to get behind them, and now they're looking really good. They're really young, so except for Stafford, but the rest of you know what I mean. They're going to be a force to be reckoned with in that strong division over there.
I agree.
I would be slightly worried that one of the rumored top coaching candidates in this next cycle is Raheem Morris.
True.
So, I mean, it's Morris. Yeah, I almost said Morris too. I'm like, no, it's flashback.
I know, I did it too.
But he's apparently he's a really high on everybody's coaching candidate board.
He's already gone back and interviewed for the Falcons job.
Oh, really?
He used to be our defensive coordinator. And he took over. He was the interim coach when what's his face got fired.
Dan Quinn,
yeah.
Yeah. So I would. That's the one thing I'd be worried about if I was the Rams. If they poach another coach getting poached from this guy McVay, man. And Morris is a part of that crew of the collective of coaches. With McVay and Shanahan and Mike McDaniel and LaFleur, all of those guys. He was on that whole podcast with the play callers thing.
Yeah, he's legit. He's going to get a job at some point.
Again, he got a coaching job when he was like 30 years old at the Bucs.
That's true. Speaking of the Bucs,
partying with them. Yep. Speaking of the Bucs, you like that? You like that?
I do transition? Like that.
Sergeant segue.
You like that? You like that?
All hail the return of White Gino.
They wrote me off. I ain't right back, though.
He hath written, but he doth screeveth back.
Yes. He sendeth, no raveneth.
No, but he has murderedeth an eagle.
He sent an eagle instead of a raven.
He did.
I'll send an eagle because it does not belong here in these playoffs.
I mean, he balled the fuck out. 22 for 36, 337 yards, 3 touchdown passes.
Half of them off his back foot. They don't keep that stat.
That's true.
He was just wheeling and dealing like he was back in college, man. It was crazy.
And not to take anything away from the guy or from the Bucs receivers who played really well, but again, did the Eagles forget how to tackle? I mean, this was probably the worst display of tackling I saw all weekend.
There was some ankle breaking going on too, man.
Trey Palmer, David Moore, both of them. The Eagles, there were Eagles everywhere, but it didn't matter. They just couldn't. I mean, well, I forget David Moore. He's like a rookie. Before this game, I think he has 94 yards receiving on the year. Like this is what he has all year.
Yeah,
and it's like
he didn't play the Eagles again. Oh, he did play one game against the Eagles.
I feel like the Bucs defense obviously deserves a lot of credit. I mean, they shut down my man, former Bulldog DeAndre Swift. They let Devonta Smith go for 148 yards, but they did keep him out of the end zone. They sacked Hurts 3 times, including the safety, which, Jesus, what the fuck? What the hell was he thinking?
Throw the ball.
What was he
throw it with your left hand. Just get the ball past the line of scrimmage. It was weird. It's like he took a sack.
The way he just walked himself into the end zone to take that sack was like, dude, this ain't college. You should not be making.
Some people care more about the bet they made than winning the game. He's like, man, I put a playoff safety in there, and nobody had one yet. It's the end of the weekend. Let me go ahead and get this. Let me stop saying that shit.
This was pathetic.
Yeah, Julio Jones, man, went out like this.
Yeah, it's not cool. The Eagles were 13 first downs, 13 to 23 in first downs, 0 for 9 on third downs.
Damn.
Twice they turned the ball over on downs. The Bucs actually stopped the tush push, which we didn't.
Oh yeah,
we didn't know that could happen. The Eagles had more drives than the Bucs in this game, more total drives, and they only managed to gain like half the amount of yards. It's just dreadful. This performance by them, it was terrible. Naturally, I mean, it's just I don't know what to say about the Eagles. A lot of people are saying you should just burn this thing down to the ground. I don't know. I don't think it's time for that.
Nah. No, I wouldn't say that. I like Sirianni's style of coaching. They lost both coordinators. They lost a lot of pieces too. You're asking a lot.
They lost Big Dom, head of security. Ever since that happened is when they went on this losing streak.
Mm-hmm. That's what happens, man. Big Dom should have kept his damn hands to himself.
I mean, I think we all knew the Eagles were struggling, limping into the playoffs. But I'm still a little surprised by the results of this game.
Yeah, like this. But they were eking out wins all season.
Yeah.
And they stopped eking them out at the end of the year and started losing. And we saw it coming. It's not like we didn't see this coming. You might not have seen because we also shortchanged the Bucs all year too.
True.
So we gave extra credit to the Eagles, shortchanged the Bucs, and it all came together in this one.
I do think there's going to be hell to pay for this decision by the Eagles to. They didn't fire their defensive coordinator. They kind of relegated him.
Yeah.
To the booth,
For Matt Patricia.
And then they bring in Matt Patricia, who, again, this whole Belichick coaching tree thing, to me, it's fascinating. I would love to hear a fucking multi-episode podcast on the failures of the Belichick tree when they leave New England. It's kind of fascinating. And it just doesn't look good. You know what I mean? It's just
it also could be that the teams who fire the coaches, like they're in shambles, and then they bring in. You know what I'm saying? You get a bad deal when you come in. You know what I mean? It's not like these people come in good situations, and they don't last that long either. I don't know. Vrabel's not a Belichick guy either. He just played for Belichick, but he's not even a Belichick guy.
I personally hate this for the Eagles because obviously there's a lot of former Bulldogs on that defense, so I'm invested on that level. So to watch this kind of unravel,
it might be why though. Have you thought about that? That if they wouldn't have had so many Bulldogs on the team, maybe they could win some.
I know that's what I'm worried about. Because in all honesty, I set my fandom aside and I'm just being honest. The downside of these Bulldogs who have come into the league recently, you've got these guys who were on those back-to-back national championship teams. They played in so many games where they were up by 3 touchdowns that most of them never played 4 quarters of football throughout their college career.
Oh.
And to me, I feel like that's kind of a sort of a hidden flaw in that crew of defensive Bulldogs.
It's not as much experience as it sounds like.
And not only that, one of the more popular things that they do in college football nowadays, especially for the really good teams like Georgia, Alabama, and
tomato cans,
they they don't just have one 5-star recruit per position. They have 2 5-star recruits. So you got guys like Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter. They play the same position when they're at Georgia. And they split the reps in the game.
Oh, shit.
So not only do they not play in the fourth quarter, they don't even play. They don't even play all the snaps when they were at
They
Georgia.
shouldn't get drafted. I feel like they should do 8 years in college.
So that was something that a lot of people, I don't think they realized. So yeah, I hate to speak ill of my Bulldogs, but I'm just trying to keep it real.
That's a good point.
Let's see. Well, okay. I guess we can sort of highlight the. So I don't know if you guys remember, everyone who listens to this podcast, we've made a fair amount of fun of the fact that the NFL has rebranded the wild card weekend as the Super Wild Card Weekend.
Yeah, they rebranded. You're right.
Which we rebranded that, which I feel like takes a lot away from the idea that you have a Super Bowl. Like it's almost like,
dumb.
Did you seriously run out of superlatives? Like, let's call it this. like I don't understand. Like, get a thesaurus, dude. So
the wonky wild card weekend.
So we have rebranded the rest of the parts of the playoffs as well. So next up, we have the deliciously delightful divisional round matchups, and they are set. The deliciously delightful divisional round matchups are set. We have Saturday at 10:30 p.m. in Europe, 3 o'clock in America. We got Texans versus Ravens. Ravens are favored by 8.5 in this game already. Obviously, the last time the Ravens had the 1 seed and got the bye, they didn't look so good in their first game. So people are worried about that, but we'll see.
We'll see.
Also on Saturday, well, it's Saturday in America, 8:15, 2:15 a.m. here. You got Packers, 49ers. 49ers are already favored by 10 in this game.
Yeah. It's going to be a different team you're looking at. Packers.
Yeah.
Different roster.
Sunday, 9 p.m. on Sunday in Europe, 1 p.m. in America. We got Buccaneers versus Lions. Lions are already favored by 6. I'm excited to see this game. And then the final game will be at 12:30 a.m. here, 6:30 in America. The Chiefs will be playing at the Bills this year. It's usually the other way around. It's usually the Bills having to go to Arrowhead. Now the Chiefs got Bills by 2.5.
Really?
Yep.
I guess they beat them in the season. But that was a different. I don't know.
It's interesting.
Yeah, I would. I definitely bet the under on that game though. I feel like it won't be. It's gonna be a good game. Damn, of course it's that night.
It's gonna be good.
I'm gonna be rooting for the Chiefs. Like, I'm a fan. I'm gonna have a Taylor Swift hat on. Mahomes jersey. I'm gonna have feathers. I'm gonna be holding a tomahawk. Face paint. I'm going all in, man.
Let's go.
All right. Well, let's see. Did you have? I didn't make any superlatives this week. I was in what we call a sports depression. So I didn't have any MVP. If I could throw one out there, I'd say my MVP would be D'Amico Ryans. I think it's amazing what he did with a team that we thought might be a 4-win team, and now they're into the division round of the playoffs, going against the 1 seed. It might be the end of the season for them, but it's crazy that we think we can see them beating the Ravens. That's what he's done as a coach. So I would say to D'Amico Ryans.
You the real MVP.
Yeah. I'm going to go with dueling MVPs this week, and I'm going to go with Jordan Love and CJ Stroud, who, and I saw this stat after the game. This is crazy. They had nearly identical playoff debuts. Love was 16 for 21, 272 yards, 3 touchdowns, 157.2 QBR rating. Stroud was 16 for 21, 274 yards, 3 touchdowns, 157.2 QBR rating. These two young studs went up against two defenses in the Browns and the Cowboys, respectively, that have been wreaking havoc on the league all year long. They were calm, they were composed, and they went about their business eviscerating their opponents as if they were the rookies who didn't deserve to be there. For these two dudes to go out and do what they did, dropping 40 burgers on the Cowboys and the Browns, I mean, to me, the future of the NFL looks pretty bright because we got these two guys, Jordan Love, CJ Stroud, lighting away. So for that, those guys are my real MVPs.
You the real MVP.
I don't know what trash. I don't think I have any trash this week, man. Everybody's in the playoffs. I think. The NFL as an organization, you can say they're trash by some of their decision making, but I got no trash this week. I'm actually like, despite my team losing and me going into my football depression, my annual sadness of not the year being over before the year's over, I got no trash, man.
That's great. I got some. I got the Cowboys in my trash bin.
Man.
I mean, I guess we all knew they were going to fall on their faces at some point. This time, obviously, they do it on Super Wild Card Weekend. That's actually, you know what? That could be my trash. I could also complain about the NFL too, right? Doing the whole peacock thing, kind of a dick move.
Yeah.
But ultimately, ultimately for me, I decided to go with the Philadelphia Eagles and their late season collapse.
Okay. I can see
losing 5 of 6.
Yeah.
Only to be capped off by this wild card loss to the Baker Mayfield-led Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I mean, you start the year 10-1, and they finish it 11-7.
Wow,
that's pretty bad. I mean, a year ago, this team is marching their way to the Super Bowl, and now you're getting pantsed by a member of the NFC South. I'm sorry, but that's as bad of a fall as I can really imagine. So yeah, I think of all the embarrassing things that happened this weekend to some of these teams that just forgot how to tackle, I think the Philadelphia Eagles are you are trash, dumpster fire of trash.
Oh man, shit got learned. You got any shit got learned?
I do.
Because I don't have anything. I did. We talked before before we got on mic about fans and how annoying fans and media can be, and the combination of the two. Sometimes the journalists, the sports journalists, sound like fans. You know, I'll do my shit got learned. My shit got learned. These motherfuckers. I was ranting earlier, man.
Hold me back.
It's these fucking. They want to know it all. Like these journalists. Basically, this stems from Mike Tomlin walking out when he got asked about his job security after his press conference. At the end of the press conference, when they were saying any more questions, and everybody was like waiting, and they were like, one more question. Anybody got one more question? And the final question that was going to be the final question of the press conference was basically, do you think your job is safe here at Pittsburgh? The only coach to have so many, was it 16?
17.
Or 17. 17 winning seasons or non-losing seasons. Hasn't had a losing season in 17 years. He's had some 8-8 seasons. And you're questioning this guy on if he thinks he's going to have his job that got his third string quarterback to the playoffs. And he walked off. He didn't even entertain it with some soundbite. And the media world, the sports media world, is trying to pile on to him about it, which he probably doesn't care. He probably doesn't even hear it. But it's just frustrating to see where we're going with this when it's kind of a lose-lose, man. They call you out. They say some wild shit. You say anything back, and then they're like, whoa, how could you do that? To certain coaches. They did it with Brandon Staley when he was getting asked every week if he's going to keep calling the plays, and he says yes. And then he finally said, don't ask me that anymore. And everybody's like, whoa. Even me, I was like, whoa. I just knew he was falling apart. He was, but they took it as disrespect. And that how dare he do that to us when we're just doing our jobs. It's really frustrating to me that they could just basically, the coach can't take it as disrespect. When you're asking me, who do you know my background? Where's the respect level from your end as the sports journalist? So that was my shit. I learned that sports journalism melding with this Twitter fandom, these fans, it feels like they're taking that energy and bringing it into these press conferences, and I feel like it's unnecessary, man.
Agreed. My shit got learned. You know that feeling when you meet a woman? For me, it's my wife. Actually, the reason why the podcast is a day late is because yesterday was my wife's birthday.
Nice. Happy birthday, Joanna.
I took her to the Banksy exhibit here in Stockholm.
Oh, shit. It's cool.
It's really good, yeah. You should go check it out. I think it's only around until February. You should go see it. It's good.
I will. That and the hip hop thing they're doing at the photographic school. I want to say
exactly. You could do those both in the same day. They're next door to each other.
Okay.
So we met. I immediately thought she was drop dead gorgeous. I did my thing to get her to go out with me, and as we got to know each other better, I think I tried to self-sabotage a little. Like I was afraid of what would happen if I went all in emotionally. And then comes that moment where it hits you. You think to yourself, fuck, I'm in love with this woman and I can't stop it. So what I learned this weekend is that I am 100% in love with the Detroit Lions.
Oh, nice.
Now,
I thought you were going to say Bill Belichick.
No. He's not. He's a hard man to love. Now, I know I've always liked them.
Same.
Especially since Dan Campbell showed up. But now I think I'm kind of head over heels in love with these Lions. Maybe it's because that, bottom of the barrel, rags to riches type narrative gives me hope for my Falcons. Whatever it is, I can't deny my feelings for these Lions any longer. This is the team that I most want to see win the Super Bowl. And now that I've finally said it, they'll probably disappoint me, but I don't care. The Lions are officially my 2023 mistress. I'm still married to the Falcons. But Falcons, I need you to get your shit together. I need you to stop drinking. Start delivering on your, empty promises.
They're flirting with an older guy, too.
Yeah, I'll still be here for you when you get your shit together. But until then, I'm here fucking with these Detroit Lions and that tall drink of water known as Jared Goff. Come on, baby. Give it to me. Also, you know what else I learned, which I think is kind of fascinating? I just want to drop this out there.
What's that?
The 4 quarterbacks left on the NFC side of the playoff bracket.
Okay.
Jared Goff, Jordan Love, Brock Purdy, and Baker Mayfield. Insane. That's insane.
I know, right?
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's absurd.
That's so true.
That's crazy.
I didn't even think about that either. Yeah.
I had thought about it yesterday. I was like, what?
But all the top quarterbacks are in the AFC anyway.
I know, but I'm just saying this is, I guess basically what this tells me is that the AFC is definitely going to win this Super Bowl again, but I don't know. I just think it's crazy.
Yeah. Damn, that is crazy. All right, the putting spec. You got to put spec on the line.